Welcome to the BrainByte podcast.
Yeah, great to be here.
Today, we're getting into something that, well, probably hits home for a lot of us. It's about how to handle that feeling when it seems like everyone else is just sailing along, and also what happens with friendships as, life takes us all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. And you, our listener, actually pointed us towards chapters 9 to 12 of Mel Robbins's The Let Them theory.
That's right. So we're going to dig into the main ideas there, specifically around getting over that constant comparison trap.
Right.
And figuring out adult friendships, which can be, well, tricky.
Definitely. We'll look at why comparing ourselves feels almost automatic sometimes, but how draining it is. And maybe, just maybe, how to flip it into something useful.
Ooh, okay.
And then we'll tackle the friendship piece, why those connections change, why some fade, and why that's often, just a normal part of adult life.
So the goal is really to pull out some clear takeaways, maybe some practical ways to think about these things differently.
Just do it.
Okay, so let's start with overcoming comparison. Chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9 hits you right away with the title, Yes, Life Isn't Fair.
Huh. Doesn't pull any punches there.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It talks about how we naturally compare our situation, our hand, as the book calls it, to what others have. And how that just feels like you're losing.
Right. And the big point there is that viewing life as this competition where someone else's success means you have less. That's the losing strategy.
So it's not a competition against them.
No, the book actually suggests thinking of it more like a game you play with others. Their successes, their moves, they can actually teach you things, show you how to play your own game better.
Interesting shift.
And it really hammers home the pointlessness of obsessing over things you literally cannot change about someone else, like their natural body type or some innate talent they have.
Yeah.
The book calls it self-torture. It uses this example of Sawyer looking at her sister Kendall's body type and singing voice and just feeling awful. It's so relatable, that trap.
It really is. You see someone who seems to have it easy in some area, and it's hard not to feel, behind.
Totally. But that's where the let them idea comes in strong. You can't control what hand someone else is dealt. So step one is just letting them have it, accepting it.
Okay, just allowing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then here's the kicker. The book argues that most things we actually want, 95% of them aren't fixed. They aren't just handed out.
Okay. So they're achievable.
Yes. Through things like, consistent effort, discipline, sticking with it, being patient. So if you're busy staring at someone else's better cards, you're completely missing the chance to play your own hand well. You lose focus on what you can actually do.
That makes sense. It distracts you from your own effort.
Precisely.
Which leads perfectly into chapter 10 then. How to make comparison your teacher. This is where it gets really interesting, flipping it from negative to, potentially positive. How does that work?
Yeah, this is the hopeful part, I think. The idea is that seeing someone else succeed doesn't actually limit your potential. If anything, it shows you what's possible. It expands the horizon.
Okay.
The phrase used is let them lead the way. See their success as proof, okay, that can be done.
So instead of jealousy, it's inspiration.
That's the goal. Flip the jealousy, that little pang you feel. The book suggests it's often highlighting something you value or maybe something you know deep down you need to do but haven't started yet.
Wow. So the person making you feel jealous is actually showing you something about yourself.
Often, yeah. And that frustration or anger you might feel, it might actually be directed inwards at yourself for, procrastinating or not taking that step. So in that way, comparison can be your greatest teacher.
That reframes it completely.
There's this anecdote the author shares about feeling envious of a friend's amazing house renovation. Specifically, these queen-size bunk beds.
Queen-size bunk beds. Okay.
Right. But instead of just stewing in it, that feeling eventually sparked her own motivation to work towards her own home goals.
So it became fuel.
Exactly. So the takeaway is, let them have their success. Truly let them. And then use it. Use it as evidence, as inspiration to go build the life you want. Their success proves it's possible for you too, in your own way.
Okay, that's a really powerful shift in thinking about comparison. Let's move on then to the second major theme you flagged for us. Mastering adult friendships, chapters 11 and 12.
Right.
Chapter 11 is called The Truth No One Told You About Adult Friendship. What's the big secret? What changes so drastically from say, school friends to adult friends?
Well, the book introduces this term, the great scattering, which I think is just perfect.
The great scattering. Yeah, I feel that.
Right. We move for work, for family. Our schedules become completely different. We hit different life milestones at different times, careers, marriage, kids, maybe grandkids later on. It's so different from childhood.
We're kind of all in the same boat, same school, same activities.
Exactly. It felt like a group sport back then, the book says, because you were just constantly thrown together. But as adults, that changes. And the book breaks it down into these 3 pillars of friendship.
Okay, what are the pillars?
Proximity, timing, and energy.
Proximity, timing, energy.
It makes sense.
Proximity, just being physically near someone. That was huge in school.
Definitely. And the book points out that as adults, between 21 and 60, we actually spend a shocking amount of time with colleagues, more than family and friends for many people.
Wow. But it also says that doesn't automatically mean deep friendship, right? Just because you share an office.
Exactly. Proximity isn't enough on its own. The example given is like if you're in your early 20s starting your career, your life stage and priorities are just wildly different from a colleague who's maybe nearing retirement, even if you sit side by side all day.
The timing is off. Maybe the energy is different too.
Precisely. The timing pillar. Your lives aren't quite synced up. And the book gives another example. The author and her husband have these family friends they really love, but there's like a 15-year age gap. So the friends are grandparents while they still have younger kids at home, different life stages, different timing. So even though the affection is there, the day-to-day connection isn't what it might have been if their lives were more aligned.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not about not liking them. It's just life stages.
Right. And that leads into the 3rd pillar, energy. Our energy, our focus, our passions, they change as we grow.
So even a really close group like college friends might find their energy shifts over time.
Yeah. Maybe one person gets really into marathon running, another is deep into starting a family, another is focused on climbing the corporate ladder. Their core energies diverge. It doesn't mean the friendship ends necessarily.
But it changes. It evolves.
It evolves. The energy dynamic shifts. And that's natural.
Okay, which brings us straight to chapter 12. Why some friendships naturally fade.
Yeah.
This builds directly on those pillars, doesn't it?
It really does. It explains how shifts in those 3 things, proximity, timing, energy, are often the real reason friendships drift. And crucially, it's usually not personal. It's not about you.
That's the hard part to accept sometimes, isn't it? It feels personal.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the let them idea applies. Let the friendship evolve or fade naturally without needing to blame someone or feel like you failed.
The author shares a pretty raw story here about feeling left out by her mom friends as their kids got older and went into different activities.
Yeah, it's very honest. She talks about feeling bitter, jealous, and admits she didn't handle it perfectly at the time.
It shows how much it can sting when those dynamics change, even when you logically understand why.
Totally. And it really highlights that adult friendships just require more flexibility. As those pillars shift, the friendship needs to be able to bend, or it might naturally weaken.
And the book also tackles the tough situation where maybe you are putting in all the effort and it feels one-sided.
Right, and it suggests that sometimes by stepping back a bit, by letting them be, you actually get clarity. Their actions, or lack thereof, show you where the friendship really stands.
It's a hard truth, but probably a necessary one sometimes.
So the advice is, if a friendship feels like it's fading, before you jump to feeling hurt or angry or isolating yourself, take a look at those 3 pillars. Ask yourself honestly, has something changed for me or for them? New job, new relationship, big life event? Have our schedules just become totally out of sync? Do we see each other way less? Is the timing of our lives diverging? Has the energy shifted because our interests or priorities have changed?
So analyze the situation using those pillars instead of just reacting emotionally.
Exactly. It offers a more objective lens, a way to understand what might be happening structurally rather than taking it purely as a personal rejection.
That seems like a much healthier way to approach it. Less drama, maybe more understanding.
Hopefully, yes. Less personal distress anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Thinking about these 4 chapters, what are the big messages we should take away about comparison in friendships based on the let them theory?
Well, first, on comparison. It's natural to compare, but that negative, constant self-critique loop, it's basically self-sabotage.
Right.
The alternative is to try and reframe it. Use those feelings of envy as clues to what you desire. Let other people's success be proof of possibility, maybe even inspiration. So let them have their wins and let that motivate you.
Use it as data, almost.
Kind of, yeah. And then for friendships.
Yeah.
The key is recognizing that adult friendships just play by different rules than childhood ones. Life scatters us. That's the great scattering. Proximity, timing, and energy are constantly shifting.
So friendships will change.
They will inevitably evolve and sometimes fade. And understanding that this is often a natural process driven by shifting circumstances rather than personal fault is crucial. Again, let the friendships evolve as they need to. It can save a lot of pain.
And allows you to focus on the connections that are thriving.
Exactly. Focus your energy where it's reciprocated and feels aligned with where you are now.
These are really practical, grounding ideas. It shifts the perspective away from blame or inadequacy towards acceptance and maybe action.
Yeah, I think the goal is greater self-awareness, more realistic expectations about ourselves and others, and ultimately a healthier way to navigate both our inner world and our relationships.
So for you listening, maybe take a moment to think, is there an area where comparison has you feeling stuck? Or is there a friendship that's been feeling off or distant lately? Consider how this let them approach might apply. What would it look like to truly allow others their journey without letting it diminish yours? Or to accept the natural evolution of a friendship based on those pillars of proximity, timing, and energy?
It's definitely food for thought.
It really is. Hopefully thinking about it this way might offer a little more peace or a clearer path forward. Thanks for digging into this with us today.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Don't forget to subscribe to BrainByte for bite-sized book summaries, useful knowledge, and fresh book updates. Thanks for watching.